Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And hello, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with you once again. Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Yes. Again, feel free to go ahead and subscribe if you love the vibe here. We always love to have you come back and be with us again and again. So we've got another incredible guest. We've got a guest that, for me anyway, was so irresistible in his connection with Source and what he has to share. I just had to have him on the show, and I'm going to be introducing him real soon here with Michael McAdams. And I mean, isn't it true, folks, that we all want to deepen our connection with Source, especially for many of you, your spirit guides? Well, Michael is going to help you tremendously with that. And you will feel that connection, I promise you, as he even shares things, because he attunes you, in my opinion, just by his presence and what he's sharing. So we're looking forward to diving in here in just a second. Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate Make Money meditation today. Okay, so I'm just, again, glad to have you here, Michael. This is such a great opportunity to share with our audience and get them more attuned to, what's always there for us, right? And it's just a matter of allowing ourselves to connect into that access. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to share with us today.
I appreciate it, Daniel. Thank you for having me on your show.
I'm so glad to have you. And so let's go ahead and share more about Michael. So Michael McAdams has felt a sense of destiny and purpose his entire life. A lifelong, sincere seeker of truth, Michael has endeavored to reach out with an open mind to all sources available. Brought up in the Pentecostal church, Michael's uncle was a fiery Pentecostal preacher by the name of John W. Sullivan. Although Michael has always felt more spiritual than religious, communication from the highest possible source has been his goal as he enables his mind to receive information and direction that allows him to help the greatest number of people. Quote, in quotes, when the student is ready, a teacher will appear, end quote. Has been very appropriate for Michael as his path, and has consistently brought him together with individuals like our connection, books, and sources of learning that have allowed him to continue growth and spiritual enlightenment, and of course, sharing with all of you today. So, all right, Michael, you've got, I just was, again, I was so entranced by, like there's so many people that are like, come on, literally, like I am literally channeling right now, and then we get into that kind of vibe. But even that, then sometimes I don't necessarily get into it that much. But there was a vibration that you're carrying that was really, really spoke to me. I really felt the sincere connection and love that you bring forth through your energy. And kind of curious, do you hear that a lot from others?
I do, as a matter of fact, and I have been told before that, and even in the messages and teachings that Wilma Jean Jones, my mother, received, dictated from these spirit teachers, that I have been given this ability to be able to communicate. And it was interesting the way they phrased it. I can't really remember every word of it right now, but it was like there was a connection that would be made with anyone that I was speaking with. And it does seem to work out that way.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, because you're listening so astutely is how I see it anyway. You're really listening. That's one of the things, like for us spiritual people, spiritual entrepreneurs, in this case, a lot of people that are either doing that or wanting to do that. If people would just listen a little bit more clearly. I just did a whole show on this morning, actually, where I was talking. I was saying, hey, you want cash flow, you need to listen to your spirit team a bit more, right? So I was just talking about that coincidentally this morning. And, it's just, I really see life as so much of it's really just a listening. And when we talked, when we talked, we had that conversation before this. You talked about your mother. You talked about, this wasn't some kind of, run of the mill channeling sort of thing. I didn't put it that way, but like that's how it came across to me. She was literally taking dictation from from wherever it's coming from, source or what. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but she was taking dictation, and then how that and then you're bringing these messages and these teachings forward, and then you're sharing things, right? So tell us more about your mom, because that's a big part of all this, and how she got connected with these messages that she got connected with, and how you've been sharing them and everything. Tell us a little bit about this journey you've been on.
Well, as we had talked about before, I believe that each of us are born with the innate ability to be able to receive, to be able to communicate with our spirit guides, spirit teachers, angels, if your perspective is a faith-based foundation. And Wilma Jean had been spoken to all of her life in thought. My grandmother had received sermons dictated to her mind and received verses to songs. She had been called to the ministry when she was 30 years old in a Pentecostal church. And I remember when I was young, my grandmother would say that God had spoken to her heart and given her this information. And that's the perspective that someone with a church-based, Bible-based background will interpret receiving anything that they're given that they can share with others. And as Wilma Jean was led to sit down in these dedicated sessions, she would actually see 3 or 4 words just float into her mind and hang there. She had set up an electric typewriter in her kitchen, and these words would not go away until she typed them. Once she typed those 3 or 4 words, they would just fade away. 3 or 4 more would show up. That's how she received these messages and teachings. Full page, single space typed. Many times with the last word in the bottom right-hand corner of the paper so tight, all you can place is the period. And these were extremely profound, deeply personal, but it's like these messages and teachings are woven with a universal thread. And everyone who has read these messages and teachings have said, well, this sounds like what I'm dealing with. This sounds like they're talking to me. And I tell people, I say, when you get the book, An Angel Told Me So, I said, read each message once as it was given for my mom and given for me. Then read that same message again as if it's being presented for you and see what hits. And it's amazing what hits. It's almost a little spooky. And people say, well, how do they know what I'm dealing with? How do they know what I needed to hear? Mm-hmm. And it really is applicable to everyone who reads these teachings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, I just know in my own connection, it isn't that way. I mean, when I do channeling and all that, I don't get 3 or 4 words at a time necessarily the way you're describing. It's more like something comes to me. Sometimes it is some words. Sometimes it's just the feeling of a presence or a specific guide that comes to me. I'm just like, okay, all right, this is what wants to be shared. It just starts coming to me, and so it definitely seems like it happens in different ways for different people. And what I really love with the way it happened for your mom is that real pureness that was in it. It's total, like, you got to kind of wonder sometimes the way the channel messages are coming out sometimes. Like with me, I'm sincere. And sometimes I've had people say in the past, not lately, but they're like, your channelings are always really good. But sometimes I notice, like, I'm being very transparent here. Some of the people are closer to me, like, that one channeling seemed like your vibration was like 5 or 10% off, or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so when it sounds with her, she was like, reminds me of no matter whatever, anybody, what you might think, but like Eckhart Tolle talks about that, right? Like he says, I just wouldn't write unless if nothing was coming from the presence, I just wasn't writing. I just wouldn't write again until it came directly from presence. And I think that's just so cool. It's like, what if it's like what I like to play these what if questions just to help support us in the right direction. Like, what if we didn't do anything until Spirit spoke to us and said, "Do this," like it just let, because it will happen. It comes, but we don't trust it, right? I don't know. That's how I see it.
I agree with you. A lot of people will receive, they're spoken to, but they may think it's their conscience, their imagination, or they just completely ignore it. And I tell people that we've been given a number of gifts, and one of the gifts is that pesky little thing called free will. And we have the ability to accept or reject any information, advice, guidance, direction that we're given. Normally, if we do ignore it or reject it, we do so at our own peril. And we look back and we say, well, I knew I shouldn't have done that. I was told, I just had this feeling I shouldn't have done it. My friends told me I shouldn't have done it. I did it anyhow, and it worked out badly.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that too, Michael. I've had people say, I'll listen to my intuition. I got this surgical procedure, and the next thing I know, I almost died. So it must have been the wrong thing to do. So, I mean, that is tough when people feel like they really did listen to their intuition, and then they interpret whatever happened as, this was definitely not a good thing. This went bad. What do you say? Because I'm sure you've got that question before, like, because it does come up sometimes. Like, how would you address that with someone?
You mean as far as receiving and being able to receive?
Yeah, like, well, that shuts down the receiving. Like, people feel like, I think this happens a lot to people. Like, I've been following my intuition, but nothing's working. Or I did follow my intuition and something disastrous happened in their mind, right? So, like, that was the worst thing that could happen. Obviously, that couldn't have been my intuition. Then they doubt it, right? So, there's so many opportunities to doubt our intuition, is what I'm talking about. Like, people that feel like, well, am I hearing my intuition? Is it just like my own thoughts? Like, how can I know?
Well, it's interesting that you asked that question, because I was talking to a lady this morning, and as I was explaining about the book and my website, spiritspeaks.com, and she said, well, how do you know, a thought, how do you know that you're being spoken to and that what you're receiving is not just you? And I told her, I said, normally, and you don't have to go into a deep meditation, you don't have to chant mantras. You will just normally, when you're not thinking about anything at all, and your mind is clear, you're not listening to the radio, you're not watching TV, and a thought will come into your mind. And an incoming thought has a different feel in our mind than a thought that we think. It's a subtle difference. But once you can recognize it and differentiate a thought that comes into your mind that was given, that you received, that you didn't think deliberately, then you can kind of separate that, and you can act on that as you will. I guess that's the best phrase that I can say. You decide how you want to handle it. And the Bible says, test the spirit. They don't mind taking a quiz. So if they advise you something and it works out and you acted upon their advice, acknowledge it. One of the most favorite expressions that Wilma Jean, my mother, had when she would receive information or be told something that came through, she would say, thank you, Spirit. And she would acknowledge the fact that this was given and that she acted upon it, and that she was so appreciative to be a part of this work and to be able to receive in this manner.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just feel like, I'm tuning in to what happens for people, that we get so caught up in what we're concerned about, right? That we're listening to just things we think need to be done, what we're concerned about, what's for lunch and dinner or whatever. We get so concerned about so many different things that we're not, social media, there's so many distractions out, and we're not listening. A lot of times we're not listening.
And we're all busy. We all have things going on. We have lives to live. But there are things that we're dealing with that we can always use some help or advice with. And whether it's, again, you don't need to sit down and drop down into a alpha, beta, theta, or delta level brainwave and drop into a deep meditation. Prayer is just a form of reaching out and requesting help. And you can ask and then relax your mind and expect an answer, expect to receive an answer, and it will be given. It may not be the answer that you wanted to hear.
Right.
But information is given and answers are there. One of the examples that I would like to share, if I might,
Yeah.
on the back cover of the book, An Angel Told Me So, was a message that Wilma Jean received in thought. She was working around the kitchen one day, and these words started to come into her mind. She picked up a piece of paper and a pen. She had beautiful handwriting. And she felt that this message was confirmation that she should put these messages and teaching in a book. She was hesitant about it. May I share this with your audience?
Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
Right. Emptiness is part of fulfillment. Let your resources fill the void left so that distinction of your purpose can be found. Expression is always self-explanatory. Therefore, look inside and anchor all your beliefs beside those still waters that will take away your troubled view and renew your strength to recapture that which was lost, but is now found to be adequate to pursue the course set before you. And as you reconcile your being to represent those qualities that have been left intact, God will see to it that although circumstances have been trying, to say the least, your weariness will disappear as clouds once removed allow the sun to shine to dispel the gloom and darkness that has pervaded your countenance. And as once described before, a token of this presence will be deposited to your account and books recorded in his name.
Amen.
And that is on the back cover of the book. She felt it was confirmation that, yes, these messages and teachings should be published in what will be 3 volumes of the book, An Angel Told Me So. And I ask people, I say, but how do you know this to be true? An angel told me so.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when people aren't still and empty, because it started with the emptiness, right? So it's like when we aren't still and empty, that's a word that comes a lot through the channelings I do. Get still, get empty, those 2 words. We aren't, even when we think we're tuning into our intuition, it's tainted by all the commotion. It can throw the signal a little bit. So, or a lot sometimes. So the more still and empty we can be, the more we can be what people want to be, which is more of that, I want to say a pure channel. And again, yeah, you don't have to go into delta or theta or whatever, but just more of that pure channel of just receiving. And it's not some, people get all bottled up about that too. A channel, oh my God, I'm no channel. We're all channels. We're all channels. It's natural. It's just natural, right? It's natural. We're natural receivers. We're naturally geared to receive from spirit. We just need to learn how to pay attention to it. Is how I see it. What do you think?
I agree. And we're all a product of our choices. And we make dozens or even hundreds of choices on a daily basis, whether we're driving, life-changing choices, all kinds of different things that we decide what to do. And it's not like you have to sit back and ask permission or ask for help with every little thing, because you need to have the confidence in your own ability to decide and choose. But it's nice to know that when the help is needed, the help is there.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it is. The more we can trust to let things be as simple and easy as they can be, the better off it is. So because what I've learned, like there's all this, well, forget about listening to the spirit guides. I'll just use law of attraction and make it happen. But what I've learned about that is when you do that, you're straining your system in a way that's unnecessary. It's not as fulfilling ultimately. It's ego celebrations, when it happens to work out for you that way. But what I find is when I get relaxed and I just let myself hear what wants to happen, it's always the best. I just hear what wants to happen. Oh, like this week, I just got, okay, you're going to get a couple new clients. Well, here it is Friday. I have no, I think I might be getting new clients tomorrow. I don't know yet. Never, you don't know for sure until it happens. And then I was like, but I don't have another one lined up. And then all of a sudden, while I was giving a testimony for somebody else, I posted it where she asked me to in a group, and someone reached out immediately, says, I don't know, I think I'm supposed to work with you. And so I just like that, there's number two, right? But it would only happen that way if I'm willing to just be relaxed and receive it the way it came to me, is what I've noticed. I've noticed that there's this magical sphere of receiving that comes not only with manifestation, but even hearing these messages in the first place. Like instead, we're like, well, that couldn't be possibly true. Let me go this way and that way and try to make something happen. Let me do this LOA. Let me get a vision board. Not that they're wrong, but I'm just saying a lot of times it's a lot easier than we make it too difficult. We encumber it. We're not letting it come from that pure just receiving. We're constantly able to just receive what we need, and it would delight us, but we're not willing to trust that, it seems to me.
Yeah, I agree. And once you are able to trust what you receive, and I tell people, I say, when you open your mind, there is evil and negativity floating around out there, but it does not have to exist for you. And when you decide that you're willing to be receptive, you should establish a filter of protection. And I years ago, and it's been so long ago, I don't even remember how long it was given, but an affirmation was made known to my mind. And it said, let no thoughts, ideas, or information be made known to my mind that does not come from God or his direct representatives. And that is my filter. There isn't anything that I can't think on my own that if I don't like the thought, I can simply discard and not accept. But when you filter what comes into your mind, you are that purity that you talked about, that specific, not instruction so much as guidance, specific guidance. They don't demand, they don't expect you to obey. They just offer their best advice, and it's up to us whether we want to accept it or reject it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So how can people, a lot of people, hey, intuitive development, spirit, team communications, all stuff are whole big, huge courses that people offer out there, right? So a lot of people are fascinated by the ability to be able to do that. And then they look at someone like you, they say, well, your mom did it. Maybe she's just gifted. And you even mentioned, I see here you mentioned about your grandma as well. Then we got you, right? Oh, well, see, it's just in the family, it's probably more for special people. Maybe we're all intuitive, but then there's Michael and everybody else. And so tell me a little bit first about that, like, because it does sound like something that started showing up even for your grandma as well. I want to get to that, and then we'll get to what I just was talking about, what these concerns people have. But yeah, so this is something that has been like generation to generation, almost it sounded like.
Well, my grandmother, like I said, she was called to the ministry when she was 30 years old. My uncle, as you read in the bio, was a fiery Pentecostal preacher, but these were church-based, Bible-based people. And when my grandmother would receive, she would receive sermons that would be dictated to her mind in thought, that she would write down and preach in church, and verses to songs. And as my mother got involved in this information, and she had been spoken to, but again, with the church-based, Bible-based background, someone with that religious foundation, they believe that God has spoken to their heart. I've always been more spiritual than religious. And as I became aware of all this, for people that are seekers, sincere seekers of truth, if they really want to know and tap into their own ability, they will be led to a person, a book, an individual, an event, a podcast like yours, where they will be exposed to this type of material. And it's just steps, it's just stair steps. One leads to the next. And whenever you're ready, it's like a teacher really will appear and advise you, or a friend will advise you and say, well, I heard about this and I saw this and I read this. And then if you're led, you can take advantage of that and see where it leads you. And it has been a progression. It really is a progression. The Urantia book is an advanced book that is posted on my website, spiritspeaks.com. And one of the lines in the Urantia book, it says that we obtain knowledge, gain experience, and create wisdom. Now, the obtaining of knowledge and gaining experience requires a passage of time. I was doing a book signing in Lilydale, New York. It's the world's oldest and largest community of spirit mediums and readers, been around 144 years. A girl was there with her mother. I think she was 18 or 19 years old. And I said, what did you ask for your birthday? She said, I asked for enlightenment. Now, at 18 or 19 years old, you haven't obtained enough knowledge or gained the experience to create the wisdom of enlightenment. But you can, be able to find those channels that will speak to your heart, speak to you, and give you that information that will allow you to progress and take the next step. And some people say, I want patience, but I want it right now.
That's hilarious. Give it to me right now.
And it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because again, you don't believe you even have it then, right? Like, really, like, well, I need it right now. Well, the patient's already I really believe like all these things already live inside of us somewhere. It's a matter of just receiving it. It's like, okay, all right, you need to practice patience. And you'll connect with the patience that does live in you, and then you can have it, right? In that case. So, but people don't, people are like, well, okay, but how do you say like this guidance and these connecting with my spirit team, everything is close as my heartbeat and all this sort of thing. Well, why is it I don't feel like I'm connected to them? So how do I receive that? And then they take courses and they're straining, they're struggling with it. And for some people, I think it is easier. I think some people it just comes more naturally, automatically for them. And then other people, it's a little more cultivation. That's been my experience. Have you noticed that too? And how do you help people to cultivate, really being able to receive their guidance?
It's a lot of it really is your own mindset. It's a mindset of where you feel you're at in relation to the universe and what you want out of this communication. Do you want them to do things for you, or do you want them to help you do things for yourself? And people will ask, they'll ask, well, I need money, or I want a car, rather than asking, allow me to get a job that will allow me to earn money and buy the car. Give me this, give me that. And people need to realize that it's self-sustaining to be able to tune in and act upon something that you're given and it works out. It builds confidence. And I think the main thing that each of you have it, I have it, is that you just gain confidence that no matter what happens, things may not be going your way, but it's going to work out. And it's not a Pollyanna attitude that, well, everything's going to be okay, because, we all go through our trials and tribulations, our lessons, our hard lessons. We're all a result of our choices. And we just have to try and do better each time we make a decision or a choice. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it comes down to. The information that people can can receive and find out about, depending on the level of where they want to be. They may go so far and then say, well, this is as far as I want to go. I'm happy with this. Now I know, when they really don't know at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. 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 Yeah, it's so interesting. A lot of times people are saying they want something and then they're doing everything but allowing that thing to happen, is what I've noticed too. Well, I want to reach enlightenment, but let me watch these 10 hours of YouTube videos instead. So I don't know, something like that. Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with YouTube videos necessarily, but I'm just saying, like, we're saying one thing and going the other direction, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, I, I,
Something else that I would like to share, if I could, Daniel.
yeah,
When I was publishing the first volume of the book, I self-published, and I was on a number of publishers' websites. And one of the websites asked a question about your work. One of the questions was, what makes your material unique? Why would anyone want to read this? I had never thought about it before. I thought it was an outstanding question. And I'm sitting where I'm sitting right now at my computer. I didn't really even ask in my mind. I just relaxed my mind. And an answer started to be dictated to my mind and thought. May I share this with your audience?
yeah, that'd be wonderful.
And this is what I was given in answer to that question. The uniqueness of any material is in the manner in which it touches the soul. An open and searching mind pulls the soul and the body in which it inhabits onward and upward with hunger and determination in its quest for spiritual nourishment, ever mindful that the path upon which we walk is the path toward God. Lives lived, experiences endured, goals accomplished, and loved ones lost are all encounters upon that path. Strive always for the highest possible communication with our Heavenly Father. Believe in yourself, as the Father within you is guiding, leading, directing, and comforting you upon this journey that we call life. Blessings be upon you as you walk your chosen pathway.
Nice.
When it got to the end, it just stopped. And that was the answer that I was given in thought. And just being open to be able to receive, just no matter what you're doing, there's times when you're driving in a car and a thought will come into your mind and they'll say, I'd slow down up ahead if I were you. And so you slow down and you get up to an intersection and here comes a big dump truck that just runs a red light. And if you hadn't slowed down, you'd have been right in his path. And acknowledge that. Say, thank you, Spirit, or I appreciate the help. I'll pay attention more often. And that is the way it works.
That's so true. Because a lot of times we are listening to these messages or these, whatever, guidance or whatever you want to call it. But a lot of times we are listening to it, but we don't give it maybe enough credit, like, oh, thank God I was listening and paying attention, instead I think everybody's like tough graders, like, why is this happening? Usually it's more victim mode, but even if you're past that, you take responsibility, you're still beating up on yourself. Why didn't I listen better? My intuition, it was telling me what to do and I didn't listen. Why did I do that? So how can people, so giving thanks when, you do listen is great. How can people, what are some other tools? Like, I love that with the filter, right? Like, I forgot how you put it, but that filter, like, I don't want other thoughts. I want the thoughts directly from God or whatever, like from the highest, from my team, whatever, whatever's from the purest pure, or whatever the filter is. But if you have that filter, I know is huge to be able to receive our guidance. I love that. And then what are some other things that people can do to make sure that, when your GPS says turn left here and it goes goes over a cliff somewhere, your literal GPS in your car, like it would take you like right into a disaster, and something in your intuition says go right, that you listen to go right anyway. How can we, learn to cultivate that more? What are some more ways to do that?
Well, the filter of protection that you establish is really just like any filter, filter on your car for oil, a filter on your pool, for your water. You're just keeping anything that may come into your mind that is outside your thought process. You want to keep it as clean and pure as possible. You don't want any negative thoughts to permeate your mind. You can think as many negative thoughts as you want. You don't need any help with that. You can look that things are not going to work out, or this could happen, but it's just a waste of time. So you just try and establish some discipline in your thinking. And we all have our own personal thought system, like a little mini solar system that circulates in our mind. And just like any solar system where you might have meteors or asteroids that flow across the solar system, those can be interpreted as any negative thoughts that might come into your mind. And you have the ability to accept or reject those thoughts and dispatch them away from your thought system and keep your thought system as clean as possible. Other than that, you can read information like these messages and teachings that Wilma received in An Angel Told Me So. And I tell people that in volume 1 of the book, the messages and teachings were pretty much all personal messages to Wilma Jean and myself. But it's like these messages are woven with a universal thread. And everyone who has read these messages and teachings have said, well, this sounds like what I'm dealing with. This sounds like they're talking to me. So by reading what someone else has received, you can see what you're capable of. And we all, I believe, have that capability. I'm just a messenger. I don't feel that I'm doing anything special. Wilma Jean was always extremely humble and thankful that she was able to participate in these sessions and be able to receive in the manner that she did. She always kept a sense of humility about herself. And that is what it takes. One of the messages that she received, these messages and teachings in the dedicated sessions where she was sitting down with an electric typewriter, started in August of 1977. In March of 1978, she received a message, and one of the lines in this message said, "Many will be the revelations concerning your book." Now, these messages and teachings had only been received for 7 or 8 months. They would go on for 22 years. She had no idea, no concept at all about writing a book, knowing if she would have enough material or how long these sessions would last. But these spirit teachers knew. And 7 months after she started receiving these messages, they are telling her that revelations will be made concerning her book. Now, that's amazing to me. And that just illustrates how far ahead into the future that they can see and how much they know about what's going to happen with us, depending on the path that we walk, and whether we stray from the path, whether we do what we're supposed to do. And we walk a path, but there's all these little tangents and little sidetracks that we can get sidetracked on. And sometimes you can be sidetracked for 10 years. And then you look back and you say, boy, I wish I'd have made a different decision 10 years ago. And now I'm back where I should have been all along. And it's a process. It's a learning process.
Yeah. Eventually, you will, hopefully, I mean, you'll find your way back, right? If you missed the turn the first time or whatever, you didn't take that road the first time, but it comes back to you. Yeah, I mean, I think that distinction you made earlier too, to reinforce what you've already said, is to recognize that voice that just kind of rolls in. We all have a different experience slightly of it, maybe, but like this, it just kind of comes out of nowhere. These thoughts, right? That this is coming from perhaps guidance. And I remember, like, when I first started really becoming aware of this, was I was dating somebody. We're on one of those Ferris wheels, and we're going around, and I said something that came through my voice in such a way that she said that you didn't say that. She just said something else just spoke through you, and 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 I instantly recognized that she was right. I could feel it. I was like, yeah, you're right. That just channeled through me. And I think they're right. That's what we need to pay attention to is just when these things are just kind of popping up for ourselves. A lot of times we just, we're not really paying that much attention to it because we're with all our dense thoughts. But if we can just pay attention to them and really allow ourselves to trust them more, then more more grace, more blessings come into our life, because it's not always literally you need to even do anything, but are you listening? Like this is the first step. And then if there is an action to take, will you take it, and will you follow it, and take it in the right time and order and all that sort of thing too. Like do it in the moment that is right for you too. So it reminded me of that when you were talked about that earlier. Is it's there. People are having these experiences, but notice them when they happen. And then, like you said, give thanks for them when they happen. So, Michael, I mean, there's so many different ways to cultivate the ability to harness what naturally comes to us. Um, how do you further cultivate your gift? Do you sit down and do your writings? Like, do you have concentrated times when you tune in as well, or how do you do it outside of just the normal tuning in all the time? Is there a time when you're like go deeper or anything like that? Or
Once you establish the connection, it's pretty much it's like you're connected all of the time. You
mm-hmm.
can go about your day. I used to own a satellite dish company. I did satellite dishes. I do pool work. I owned a swimming pool company. I'm doing some commercial work right now. But the majority of what I do is with the book. And back to what you were just saying before about receiving, there are a number of times in these messages and teachings that the spirit teachers will talk about the still small voice that speaks within.
Mm-hmm.
And that still small voice is what you want to be able to listen to and recognize. It's not like you're tuned in all the time and living in an ethereal plane above the physical plane. We still have things that we have to do. We ride around in these bodies the way we ride around in our cars. These physical bodies are just a way for us to negotiate this physical plane and do what we're supposed to do, learn what we're supposed to learn, make decisions on a day-to-day basis, take care of ourselves, work, be gainfully employed, and try and do our best with all that we meet, and just be helpful and learn as we go. So there are ways. One of the lines in volume 1, there was a message that a spirit teacher gave, and one of the lines said, "We hear the spirit cries above the words you speak." And they know, they really do know. I mean, these are spiritual beings that exist in a reality above this physical plane. And I tell people there is no death, it's just graduation. And if you ever wanted proof, real proof of the existence of a spiritual realm on the other side of this physical plane, these messages and teachings in An Angel Told Me So will give you that perspective.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. That's really nice. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I keep being guided to share this story from when we're talking about receiving. So I'll ask you this question as we start wrapping up a little bit. But like this, it was, I don't know who it was, but I was watching some video that came up after I watched another video on YouTube, right? So I was watching one video and went to another video, and there was some guy talking about demons, like demons, and a lot of the negative thoughts or impulses we have aren't just of the flesh, as he was putting it from his context, right? So it says it's not just of the flesh, it's also what he considered to be demons. And I thought that was very interesting, that because I give some credence to it in a way, because there is the sense of like what came over you, that's what we say when people like get out of control, right? What came over you, like something like almost seems to want to get in you, and that you're like possessed. And I think that happens in minor ways throughout the day for so many of us, like got these distracting thoughts or this anger or this or that. And but if we were to just, to just like, no, I don't want to be with that, out demon, or out whatever, and let ourselves to get connected again, and then just establish the protection in the first place, right? We wouldn't have those distractions. We need listening to voices that will have us listen to them and have us almost like chop off our own arms, right? You should chop off your arm. It'd be a really good idea. Like, it's ridiculous, but that's what some of these thoughts will tell us. Things are almost that ridiculous, so yeah, that protection is really key. And recognizing also, what I'm trying to say, is the voices that aren't of the light or source or God, or however we want to put it. I think this is important too. Wouldn't you say, Michael, is to recognize the other voices too?
Actually, once that your filter is established and put into place,
Yes.
there is no negativity, no evil. That it just does not exist for you.
Right.
It may exist for other people, but it
Right.
does not exist for you.
Yes.
And you're not blocking it, you're filtering it out.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that you can't think a negative thought. But if you think a negative thought and you don't like it, you can dispatch it, get rid of it, and say, this is not my thought. I don't want this thought.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I take no possession of it.
There we go.
And it, like I said, it's a disciplined thing. It takes a while. But once you establish that and set your mindset in a way that it just becomes easy. And the sense of confidence, not invulnerability, but the sense of confidence that it doesn't make any difference what happens, what you're required to deal with, it's going to be okay because you're not alone. These spirit guides and spirit teachers are with us, and they can't do anything on this physical plane except through us. They can advise us and direct us. They can't really do anything like we can do physical things on this side. And if people realize that if they can establish that filter and reject any negative or evil thoughts that they did not consciously think and don't choose to think, it'll help them clean up their mind. It's just like using CC Cleaner on your computer to get rid of all your trackers and all the other stuff. I do that 2 or 3 times a day. Sometimes you have to just clean out the garbage, and you can do that with your mind.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's why I love having people, with all these different ways of looking at things, in a way, like, way you're saying things wouldn't be, what you're teaching isn't the same what other people would say about receiving their guidance, right? So it's like, that's what I really love about what we do here at the show. Like this, no, I haven't had anybody come on the show anyway and talk about creating this sort of filtering, like this sort of thing. So that's really incredible. Where can people learn more about all this? People are probably thinking, what are you talking about? I get it, but like, how do you create this filter? How do you really do that? I mean, how do you do that? So do you have a process that you teach people about that? Is that something you can get into here? Is there a way people can learn about that?
It really doesn't take hardly any effort at all, other than a visualization and a decision to establish it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like you just install a filter in your mind. You don't go buy it anywhere. You just create it.
We don't need
And
the
you
Home
can
Depot,
visualize
right?
it.
Right.
No, I don't think they sell them there. There wouldn't be any way to install it. It's something that you have to create for yourself within your own mind.
Mm-hmm.
And all it does is help you with the thoughts that we're barraged with on a daily basis, just like television commercials, all of the garbage, the violence that we see in in TV shows, and they wonder why all these shootings and the violence is going on in these cities, other than the fact that they're not punishing criminals anymore. But that's a whole nother conversation. The whole no bail thing in New York, where, yeah, you did this terrible thing, but we're not going to keep you. We're just going to have you come back on the word you're going to show up 60 days from now. And the next day they go out and they carjack another car, or they rob another store. And, will you let me get away with it once? Why shouldn't I get away with it again? And kids will turn out the same way if there's no price to pay for your actions. Then you'll just keep doing whatever you want to do. And if your heart is the type of heart that wants to take advantage of people and has no respect for someone else's property, you're going to do what you want. You don't think there's going to be any consequences. And for some reason, they don't want to give anyone consequences. So this something else I'd like to share. These messages and teachings will normally end with just an amazing tagline or a really profound, deep paragraph. And on my website, spiritspeaks.com, there's a television interview that my mother gave in Cincinnati, just a local cable talk show. And posted on her interview is a message, a sneak peek from volume 2 that I posted on there. And this was the only time in a session where Wilma Jean was led to sit down and receive. 2 different spirit teachers moved in the same session, gave 2 different messages, and signed 2 different names. And it was obvious that the second teacher was a different teacher than the first, because the whole cadence and phrasing of the message is different. But the second teacher's message was 1.5 pages or so, single space typed. But this last paragraph is amazing to me. May I share this with your audience?
Yes, that'd be great.
All right. And he says, "You are not as sheep herded here and there, but you are likened unto the lamb that is cared for individually, nourished and loved until the full and total development allows it to be master of itself. So is man so kept and denied only those things that would not in the long run nourish his spirit. God is all wise and loving in his dispensations. We are not to judge the workings of our Father, nor are we to judge each other. Work always to improve your own beings, for in the end time, there lies your soul, with all the nourishment that you have given it, totally dependent upon the outcome of your intentions." And that message was signed, "Your loving spiritual teacher."
Nice.
So we are responsible for what we do, what we think. We have help, but we can also establish a filter that will keep negative thoughts and anything that would distract us from our path to make life as easy as possible. Not easy in the form of everything coming our way, but easy in the choices that we make and the way things that turn out, depending on what we want out of life itself. Life is a journey.
Yeah, I mean, life brings challenges, whether you're looking for them or not. I mean, so yeah, everything coming your way, I mean, not easily. I mean, yeah, to some degree, you can have more grace and more ease in your life by listening, right? By doing some of the things you're talking about today. But yeah, you're gonna still have challenges. Yeah.
And we're born to a certain set of parents. We're born to a set of parents in a certain social station. I had talked to you before that you have children born to Bill Gates and Steven Spielberg. They'll want for nothing. Granted, they'll have their challenges, but that kind of wealth and connections will make their life so much easier. And then you have people born to alcoholic fathers, drug addicted mothers, abusive parents. They can be born to abject poverty. They can be born into communist China, North Korea, Iraq. And is it luck of the draw? Did Bill Gates and Steven Spielberg's kids just win the lottery and we didn't? Or are we assigned to a certain set of parents in a certain social station for what it is that we're supposed to learn, to do, to overcome, lessons to be learned, And if you think that is possible, then you open the door to reincarnation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why there really is no death. It's just graduation.
Right.
And we live a life, and based on how we live this life and what we learn will lead us to the next life that we live and what we will learn in that existence.
Yeah.
Along with that, we have our own spirit guides, spirit teachers that are helping us, that walk beside us, that we can tap into their knowledge and experience and make better choices. And the whole point of life is to make the best choices possible.
Right. Right. Amen. Okay. All right. Wonderful. Well, yeah, unfortunately, we need to start wrapping up for today. I could go on and on forever. This is so fun to have this conversation with you. Where can people, you know, check out your? I know you had actually a specific gift that you wanted to give the audience too today. Do you want to tell them about that and where they can get that?
I would. I offer a set of my own writings called Spiritual Parchment Prints. They're available on my website, spiritspeaks.com. And I offered that if you have 5 of your listeners who would like to contact me on my website, on my contact page, advise me that they heard our interview, our podcast, and if they would share a mailing address, I would send them a set of these writings for free.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so these are like some of the guided writings that you have to share with them that you have, right?
Actually, in the set of 3 writings, 2 of those I wrote and I take credit for. But one of those was a personal message that was given to me. I had come home from work one evening, went upstairs to change clothes, and the words greatness and spirit came into my mind. I knew it was incoming. So I opened a drawer, pulled out a pen and a pad, and I started taking these words down, and they were coming so fast, I was scribbling to keep up. And when it got done, when it got to the end, like most all of these messages do, it just stopped. Now, I felt that this was a personal message to me, but I also feel that it applies to all of us who are in this work. May I share this message with your audience?
Yeah, that's great.
It says, greatness and spirit shall touch the lives of many who you will come into contact with. Hearts and lives will be touched and changed by your presence. Enable yourself by the will of your being to respect and respond to the changes in individuals as you become aware of the true potential of your spirit. In the eyes of God, thou hast made thyself worthy of all the riches and gifts of spirit that shall be forthcoming unto you. Be as you will in relationship to the Holy Spirit that inhabits and dwells within thy being at this time. Look always to the future with anticipation and gladness, for thou hast made thyself a living receptacle for the Spirit of God, and all good things shall come to thee. Now, that's a pretty good personal message to receive. But again, I feel that all of us who are in this work, who would like to begin a path to become part of this work, that is appropriate for what they will do and will give them the confidence that they can speak to people, share information, and help others upon this same path.
Mm-hmm. Yes, amen. All right, so and I just want to, that's wonderful. So you want to get more of these messages and get even that message in writing so you can go back over it again and again as a centering point. I have certain things that I read constantly again and again. Then definitely contact Michael. You can go to www.spiritspeaks.com, www.spiritspeaks.com. And there is a place there, you say, where they can go ahead and request this from you, right? The Spiritual Parchment Prints, correct?
Right. Yeah, I will send to the first 5 people that contact me who have talked about our interview on your podcast. Then I would be happy to send them a set of these writings for free.
Oh, that's very
The
good.
book An Angel Told Me So is available on Balboa Press. On my website, you can purchase the book there. It's available from Barnes and Noble, Kindle, Nook, Amazon. And there will be 3 volumes. The first one is out right now. The second one should have been out already, but I ran into a little problem with my publisher, so the second book has been delayed. And I wanted to have the third book, the third volume, out by the end of this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Wonderful. Well, I'm so glad to have had you on the show today. Last thing I like to do is just do see if I have a message or two for you. I like to just give this gift to my people I interview. So would you are you open to me tuning in and see if I've got any messages for you today?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, let me tune in and see what's coming through. Again, I just share what comes through. It's not my personal opinion, it's just what comes through. So I just get that they want you to recognize more of what a masterful teacher you are of spirituality, etc. But of spirituality particularly. And they're showing me, again, what Buddha represents in a sense, like just that Buddha nature that we talk about, just that sense of deep connection, deep openness, a deep embodiment of enlightened presence of God, of whatever, however you want to put it in your language, Michael, but like that Buddha presence is really strong in you. And I'm feeling, again, they're just saying, you've got the filters really strong, and then just getting even deeper in your energy body is the feeling it comes into me. So that's what a couple of messages already right there. Let me see if I've got another one. Yeah, and I think we talked about this maybe before. They're showing me your healing gifts. And this comes for a lot of my guests, because one of the reminders I was supposed to give myself and others all the time. We have healing gifts through your words, but also through your hands as well. So it feels like energy healing, or we might call it energy healing. You can look at it any way you want, Michael. I mean, I don't know if what you jive with on every level. We bring diverse speakers in. Sometimes they always have the same perspective on everything, but a sense of energy healing. And I think you talked to me about some healings maybe that you've done for people, or maybe I heard it somewhere from you. But they're showing me that sense. And it's almost like, too, I get a sense that there is a call for you to be a little bit more ministerial than you already are, but it's like without the casing of the examples you've seen before. Not that they're like wrong, so to speak, but that they wouldn't be you. Like it's but yet you're ministering to people. And you already are, but there's a feeling of a deepening in this ministerial sort of work where you take people through courses. I don't know, maybe you take them on traveling a little bit to certain sites or something. I get some feeling around that too. So I don't know. Again, we only spend a minute or two on these messages, but go ahead, Michael. So go ahead, share.
You're actually really spot on all of that. I have been told repeatedly as I deal with people. I used to do psychic readings. I did psychometry, could hold rings, watches, keys, that sort of thing. I worked with a group called Psychic World in Cincinnati. This was years ago. And I've had more than one person say that they felt my energy, that there was a real energy and almost a presence that as we talked and spoke, like you and I have talked about. So that and the travels, and another line, one of the lines in the messages that Wilma Jean had gotten a special message for my birthday. And in the photo gallery of the book, there is a photo of me at my mother's house with a birthday cake, and she had asked for this special message. And the message that she received is laying, I sent you the picture of it. Message is laying on the cake box, and you can see her typewriter sitting right there on the left side. Well, one of the lines in that message was said, "Blessed is he who remains always in understanding of his calling." And I think that, again, is appropriate for all of us who are in this work. But I do feel that I'm here for a purpose and a reason. And as many people as I can share this information with is what I'm supposed to do. So what you received in those 2 or 3 things that you received I think is spot on.
That's great.
And I thank you for that.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad I'm so glad to share with you. And then as we're wrapping up, if people want to check me out, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. There are opportunities to get energy scan consultation from me there. There's a little application there if you want to apply for an opportunity for that with me. There's also free meditate and make money meditation that you hear about a lot here at this show if you attend. So frequently, and you can check that out as well to allow yourself to get in that attunement, to listen more fully and deeply and open to the riches that are already there and to your guidance too. It also it invites you and it facilitates connecting with guidance. So go to yoursacredpurpose.com for any and all of that. And Michael, we're going to give you the last word today. So any last words or thoughts for the audience as we begin to conclude for today?
Just that if people do get the book and see what is capable, what can be done, then they will realize that what they can tune into their own spirit guides and spirit teachers is well worth the effort. And the information that they can receive and the help and guidance that they can receive will just change their life. Absolutely change their life and their perspective on this existence.
After all, an angel told me so.
That's true.
All right. I love it. Okay, Michael, it's so fun and delightful to have you here today. And just so glad that we were able to meet each other and come together and share with our audience. And thank you again for coming to today. And I want to thank our audience as well. So go ahead and check out everything with Michael at spiritspeaks.com. And I look forward to being all with you the next time. So keep on tuning in and we'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone. Goodbye for now.
For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.